Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Speak Smart podcast. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the world of video games.
Okay.
But we're not just talking about button mashing and high scores.
Right.
You've sent us some really thought-provoking sources on how video games actually impact our lives.
Yes.
Including a podcast discussion that really got me thinking.
Interesting.
So let's unpack this together and see what we can uncover.
Sound good.
So first things first, what exactly are we talking about when we say video games?
Well, video games have evolved so much.
Oh, yeah.
From when they first started.
Yeah.
They've gone from a niche hobby to this global phenomenon.
It's true.
We're talking about a huge variety of genres, from action-packed adventures to, those really intricate puzzle games that make you think.
Yeah.
And it's all experienced across a ton of different platforms. It's not just entertainment anymore. Mm-hmm. Video games are actually woven into how we learn, how we connect with each other, and even how we approach challenges in real life.
Okay, so we're not just talking about a way to pass the time here.
Definitely not.
You mentioned real life impact, and I know from the podcast you shared that there are actual cognitive benefits to gaming.
Right.
Like, I was surprised to learn that certain games can boost problem-solving skills that are applicable to everyday situations.
Exactly.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Your source, The Gaming Mind, highlighted a study where players of those really strategy-heavy games, like Civilization, for example, they actually demonstrated improved planning and resource management skills, which then translated to better performance in tasks like organizing work projects.
That's interesting.
Or even managing personal finances.
That's incredible. I always thought of those games as just fun ways to rewrite history,
Yeah.
But knowing there's a real cognitive benefit makes them even more appealing.
I agree.
And what about the social aspect?
Yep.
I know a lot of people kind of dismiss online interactions as less meaningful.
Right.
But the podcast you sent argued that gaming communities can actually foster genuine connections.
It's true. They can.
Really?
The podcast host actually interviewed several gamers who shared stories of forming deep friendships and even romantic relationships through online games.
That's amazing.
They argued that shared experiences, especially in collaborative games, can build really strong bonds. Sometimes even stronger than those formed in more passive social settings.
That makes sense. Working together towards a common goal.
Yes.
Even in a virtual world.
Right.
Can definitely create a sense of camaraderie and trust.
Absolutely.
So we've got cognitive benefits, we've got social connections.
Uh-huh.
Is it all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to gaming? Or are there downsides we need to be aware of?
Like anything else, moderation is key. While video games can be incredibly engaging and beneficial, excessive gaming can definitely have negative consequences.
Right. And your notes mentioned addiction as a serious concern.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to downplay this, especially with something as seemingly harmless as playing games.
Right.
But when does it cross the line?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The Gaming Mind podcast used a helpful analogy.
Okay.
They said to imagine video games as a delicious dessert.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Enjoying it in moderation is perfectly fine, even beneficial.
Right.
But if you start having it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, neglecting your main meals, that's when it becomes a problem.
Okay, so the issue isn't the games themselves.
Right.
But rather how they fit into our overall lifestyle.
Exactly.
And whether they start to crowd out other essential activities and responsibilities.
That's it.
And I noticed in your notes that you flagged several potential downsides beyond addiction.
Yeah.
Specifically physical and mental health concerns.
Yes.
Could you shed some light on those?
Of course. Prolonged gaming sessions, especially without breaks, can lead to physical issues.
Like what?
Like eye strain,
Oh, yeah.
back pain,
I can see that.
and even repetitive strain injuries.
Oh, wow.
It's important to remember that our bodies need movement,
Right.
and spending hours in the same position can take a toll.
It's a good reminder that we can't escape the need for physical activity,
Yeah.
even in the digital realm.
It's true.
And what about the mental health side of things?
Well, excessive gaming has been linked to increased risks of anxiety,
Really?
depression, and social isolation. especially if it leads to neglecting real-life relationships and responsibilities.
So it's not just about the hours spent gaming, but also about the potential impact on our mental and emotional well-being.
Exactly. It's about being aware of the potential pitfalls and taking steps to mitigate them.
Like what kinds of steps?
Well, for example, setting time limits, taking regular breaks, and making sure you're engaging in other activities that contribute to your overall well-being.
That makes sense. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From the cognitive benefits and social connections.
Yes.
To the potential downsides of excessive gaming.
That's right.
It seems like the key takeaway is that, like most things in life, moderation and balance are essential.
Absolutely.
But how do we actually put that into practice? Let's dive into that in just a moment.
Okay.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Sounds good.
All right. So before the break, we were talking about finding that balance between enjoying video games and making sure they don't take over our lives.
Right.
I have to admit, I'm guilty of losing track of time myself when I'm, really engrossed in a game.
It happens.
So what are some practical strategies for setting those boundaries?
Well, you already hit on one of the key challenges, that feeling of being completely absorbed in the game.
Right.
So like you enter this flow state where time just seems to disappear.
Exactly. So how do we break free from that?
Right.
And make sure gaming doesn't consume our entire day?
Well, one surprisingly effective method is to use visual cues in your environment to kind of remind yourself of the time.
Interesting.
This could be as simple as placing a clock where you can easily see it while gaming, or setting an alarm on your phone for a specific time to stop.
That's a great idea because it's so easy to tune out mental reminders when you're focused on the game.
Exactly.
But having a physical visual cue is much harder to ignore.
Yes.
It's like having an external conscience reminding you to take a break.
I like that.
And speaking of breaks, that's another crucial aspect of maintaining balance.
Absolutely.
Even short breaks can make a big difference.
They really can.
You mean like actually stepping away from the screen?
Yes.
I know it sounds obvious, but it's so tempting to just keep playing one more level.
I know the feeling.
All right.
But even 5 or 10 minutes away from the screen can help reduce eye strain, prevent fatigue, and give your mind a chance to reset.
Okay.
Try setting a timer to remind yourself to take these mini breaks.
Okay. I like that. It's a manageable way to incorporate breaks.
Right.
Without feeling like you're interrupting the flow too much.
Exactly.
It's like hitting the pause button on the game and on your brain for a few minutes.
I love that.
And when you do take those breaks, what should you be doing?
Well, try to engage in activities that are completely different from gaming.
Okay. So like what?
Go for a walk, chat with a friend, do some stretches, anything that gets you moving and using different parts of your brain.
It's about creating contrast.
Yes.
And giving your mind a break from the intense focus that gaming often requires.
Absolutely.
It's like switching gears and engaging different mental muscles.
Exactly. And here's another strategy that can be really effective.
Okay.
Involve other people in your gaming schedule.
Oh, interesting.
Tell your family or roommates about your designated gaming times. So they can help hold you accountable.
That's a great idea. It's like having a support system to help you stick to your boundaries.
Exactly.
And it can also help prevent conflicts that might arise if your gaming habits start to interfere with family time or other shared activities.
Absolutely. It's all about open communication.
Right.
And finding a balance that works for everyone involved.
And on the topic of balance,
let's
not forget the importance of diversifying your activities beyond gaming.
That's so important.
Right. It's about having a well-rounded life.
Yes.
With multiple sources of enjoyment and fulfillment.
Think of it like a balanced diet for your mind and body.
Okay.
Just like you wouldn't eat the same food every day.
Yeah.
You shouldn't rely on video games as your sole source of entertainment and engagement.
So what else should we be doing?
Explore other hobbies, spend time in nature, pursue creative outlets, connect with loved ones. These are all vital ingredients for a well-rounded life.
I love that analogy. It makes so much sense. And I think when you have other passions and pursuits, it can actually enhance your gaming experience.
How so?
Well, when you're not relying on gaming as your only source of fun or relaxation, you're less likely to overdo it.
That's true.
You can come to the game feeling refreshed and energized, ready to enjoy it for what it is without feeling like you're missing out on other things.
That's a great point. It's like anything else when you approach it with balance and intention, you're more likely to have a positive and fulfilling experience.
So we've talked about setting boundaries, taking breaks, diversifying activities. It seems like responsible gaming is all about making conscious choices.
Yes.
And being mindful of how gaming fits into our overall lives.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your gaming habits and making sure they align with your values and goals.
And this brings us to a really interesting aspect of gaming that we haven't touched on yet.
Okay.
The educational potential.
Yes.
I know from your research that video games are no longer just about entertainment.
Right.
They're becoming powerful tools for learning.
Absolutely. The line between entertainment and education is blurring, and video games are at the forefront of this exciting shift.
I'm curious, what are some specific examples of how video games are being used to teach and engage learners?
Oh, there are so many. Think about historical simulation games like Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah.
Which allows players to explore meticulously recreated historical settings and interact with figures from the past. It's like stepping into a living history book.
That's amazing. I can imagine how immersive and engaging that would be, especially for students who might find traditional history lessons dry or boring.
Exactly. And beyond history, there are games that teach science, math, coding languages, you name it. The key is that these games leverage the power of interactive storytelling and gameplay to make learning fun and engaging.
And it's not just about factual knowledge, right?
No, it's not.
You mentioned in your notes that video games can also help develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills.
Absolutely. Many games require players to think strategically, analyze situations, and come up with creative solutions to overcome challenges. These skills are essential for success in all areas of life, not just in the virtual world.
It's like a mental workout disguised as entertainment.
Exactly.
And I've heard that video games can even be used to teach social and emotional skills.
That's right. Collaborative games, in particular, require players to communicate effectively, work together as a team, and navigate complex social dynamics. These are valuable skills that can translate to real-life interactions and relationships.
So it seems like the potential of video games for learning and development is vast.
It is.
And still largely untapped.
I agree. It's a fascinating field with so much potential. And as technology continues to evolve, I'm excited to see how video games will continue to shape the future of education and beyond.
We're back and ready to explore the future of gaming. Before we were talking about the incredible potential of video games as educational tools and even therapeutic resources, but now I want to shift gears a bit and gaze into the crystal ball. What does the future hold for the world of video games?
Well, one thing is for sure, the future of gaming is going to be increasingly immersive and interactive. We're on the cusp of some really groundbreaking technological advancements that are going to change the way we experience games forever.
That sounds exciting. I know you've been following the latest developments closely. Can you give us a sneak peek at some of these game-changing technologies?
Absolutely. One of the most transformative technologies on the horizon is extended reality, or XR for short. It's an umbrella term that encompasses virtual reality, VR, augmented reality, AR, and mixed reality, MR.
I've heard those terms thrown around a lot, but can you break down the differences for us?
Of course. VR creates fully immersive digital environments that shut out the real world. Think about those headsets you've probably seen, where you're transported to a completely different world.
Right, like stepping into a video game or a virtual world. And what about AR?
AR overlays digital elements onto the real world. Remember Pokemon Go? That's a great example of AR, where you could see those virtual creatures superimposed on your actual surroundings through your phone's camera.
Oh, right. It made it seem like those Pokemon were actually there in the park or on the street. And what about mixed reality? Where does that fit in?
MR blends the real and virtual worlds even more seamlessly, allowing digital objects to interact with the physical environment. Imagine a game where virtual characters can hide behind your real furniture, or a virtual ball can bounce off your real walls.
Wow, that sounds incredibly realistic and interactive. Yeah. What kind of impact do you think these XR technologies will have on the gaming world?
The possibilities are truly mind-blowing. Imagine playing a fantasy RPG where you can physically feel the weight of your sword, or a horror game where you can sense the virtual monsters lurking in the shadows around you.
That would take immersion to a whole new level. And I imagine it would also open up new possibilities for storytelling and game design.
Absolutely. XR will allow game developers to create experiences that are more realistic, engaging, and emotionally impactful than ever before. And it's not just about entertainment either. XR has the potential to revolutionize fields like education, healthcare, and even architecture.
That's fascinating. I know we're focusing on gaming today, but I'm curious to hear about those other applications. Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Imagine students taking virtual field trips to ancient Rome or doctors practicing complex surgeries on virtual patients. XR can create these really realistic simulations that allow people to learn and practice skills in a safe and controlled environment. And architects can use XR to visualize and manipulate 3D models of buildings before they're even built, which can save time and money and lead to more innovative designs.
It sounds like XR is going to have a profound impact on multiple industries, not just gaming.
Absolutely. It's a truly transformative technology that's just beginning to scratch the surface of its potential.
This is all incredibly exciting. And speaking of exciting technologies, I have to ask about artificial intelligence. It seems like AI is everywhere these days, and I'm curious to know how it's going to impact the future of gaming.
AI is going to be a game changer in every sense of the word. It's already being used to create more realistic and challenging opponents, generate dynamic game worlds that adapt to player choices, and even personalize the gaming experience based on individual player preferences.
So games are going to become more intelligent and responsive to our actions.
That sounds amazing. Can you give us some specific examples of how AI is being used in game development?
Sure. Imagine an AI-powered game where the enemies learn from your playing style and adapt their tactics to counter your moves. Or a game world that changes and evolves based on the choices you make, creating a truly unique and personalized experience.
That would be incredible. It would make games feel more dynamic and unpredictable, almost like you're playing against a real thinking opponent.
Exactly. AI can also be used to create more believable and engaging non-player characters, or NPCs as they're called. These characters can respond to player actions in a more natural and nuanced way, making the game world feel more alive and immersive.
So instead of those repetitive and predictable NPCs we often see in games, we'll have characters that can actually hold a conversation and react to us in a way that feels genuine. That's the idea. AI can also be used to create what's called procedural content, which means that game elements like levels, items, and quests can be generated automatically. This can make games feel vast and ever-changing, as there's always something new to discover.
It sounds like AI will allow game developers to create more expansive and immersive worlds without having to manually design every single detail.
Exactly, and it can also help personalize the gaming experience. AI algorithms can track your gameplay, learn your preferences, and adjust the game's difficulty, storyline, and even the types of challenges you face to create a tailored experience that's just right for you.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like having a personal game designer creating a custom game just for you.
It's the future of personalized entertainment. And beyond these specific examples, AI has the potential to fundamentally change the way we think about and interact with games. It could even lead to the creation of entirely new game genres that we can't even imagine yet.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a golden age of gaming, with technology pushing the boundaries of what's possible. It's truly an exciting time to be a gamer. But as we wrap up our deep dive, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier: responsible gaming. With all these advancements, it seems more important than ever to be mindful of how we engage with video games.
You're absolutely right. As games become more immersive and engaging, it's crucial to be aware of the potential for excessive gaming and its impact on our physical, mental, and social well-being.
So what are some key things gamers can do to ensure they're gaming responsibly?
It starts with setting boundaries and sticking to them. Decide how much time you want to dedicate to gaming each day or week and make a conscious effort to not exceed those limits.
That can be tough, especially when you're really enjoying a game. Do you have any tips for making those boundaries stick?
Use timers or alarms to remind yourself to take breaks. And make sure you're engaging in other activities that you enjoy, like spending time with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, or simply getting some fresh air and exercise.
It's about creating a balanced lifestyle where gaming enhances your life, not dominates it.
Exactly. And it's also crucial to be aware of how gaming affects your mood and behavior. If you find yourself feeling irritable, anxious, or withdrawn after gaming, it might be a sign that you need to take a step back and reevaluate your gaming habits.
It's about being honest with yourself and recognizing when gaming is becoming more of a problem than a source of enjoyment.
Precisely. And if you're concerned about your gaming habits or think you might be struggling with addiction, don't be afraid to reach out for help. There are resources available, such as support groups and therapists who specialize in gaming addiction.
That's great advice. And it's a good reminder that we all have a responsibility to look out for ourselves and each other when it comes to gaming, especially as these technologies become more immersive and potentially addictive. So as we conclude our deep dive into the world of video games, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
The future of gaming is incredibly bright, with endless possibilities for entertainment, education, and even personal growth. But it's up to each of us to approach gaming responsibly, to harness its power for good, and to ensure it remains a positive and enriching force in our lives.
That's a fantastic message to end on. Thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive into the world of video games. It's been an eye-opening journey, and I'm personally excited to see what the future holds for this ever-evolving form of entertainment and beyond. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on the Speak Smart podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of the fascinating world of video games. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and we'll see you next time.